So we are now live, just waiting for it to connect to Facebook. I was saying last week that it'd be nice when it's just instantaneous, but apparently it's not instantaneous. So now I know that when people are doing this, that they're actually, when there's like no speaking at the beginning, it's because they're just trying to get that connection happening.
Yeah.
Okay, so Facebook screen has popped.
I was saying last week that it'd be nice when it actually...
You found it faster than me. Maybe because I've got the Zoom on my end, maybe?
We are live.
Yay! Okay, so as we're getting started, I'm still waiting for it to load up on my screen because, like I said, probably because Zoom's on my computer that it's taking longer. I don't know, but so welcome everybody. So today is so welcome to Monday Whispers chat, and so Bridging the Gap Wellness is all about creating. Oh, somebody apparently came in. So about creating holistic life and finding balance. And so one of the things with these Mondays Whispers chat is all about being able to bring some amazing, inspiring women to you live every day, or every week. And so this week I'm actually going to be interviewing Flora Ware. And so Flora is with Strength and Soul. And so she's going to be sharing a little bit today. So I'll give you a little bit of an introduction. So she is a spiritual life and business coach and moon cycle priestess. And so Flora will share with us how her journey with divine feminine archetypes has helped her tap into her unique power and create successful, soulful business. And now she teaches, coaches, and holds sacred space for other women who have experienced the same. So welcome, Flora. So can you tell me a little bit more about yourself?
Sure. Well, I live with my wife and our
Strength and Soul. And so she's going to be sharing So
apparently it's not letting
me
me put it on
mute. She is a spiritual life and business coach and moon spirit.
We're in an echo chamber. Yeah.
There.
Okay. Yeah, my wife and I, we're in business together. We live in Vernon, BC, in Canada, and we are in business together. And yeah, I've been on my spiritual path for over 25 years now. Spirituality's been a big part of my life, and but only in the last 3 years did my my spirituality become something that I really wanted to and felt like I could make a business out of or a career out of. And so it's been a really exciting transformation in my life to intersect those two, because I think I had to undo a lot of my own beliefs around having my faith and something that I just absolutely love to do, and something that we're naturally gifted at, being something that we could make a living at, that we could make money from, so it's been a beautiful journey. And most days I wake up just kind of like, pinch me, am I dreaming? This is really my life, because right now I'm just always connecting with women all over the world. I'm so thankful for social media and the internet that's making these global connections possible. I mean, even meeting you, Rollie, and just like every day I'm meeting amazing women and feeling like, like we're all really contributing to something amazing. So yeah, that's me.
That's really cool. So yes, so Flora just so that so that you know how one of the ways that we've met, I believe, was through chakra dance initially, and internet connection is unstable. Hello?
Oh, there you are. Yeah.
Are you still there?
Yep. And I see you now. I hear.
Every week brings a new excitement.
Yes, like that.
Are you there?
Yep, I'm here. Can you not see me?
I can see you now. So apparently internet was unstable, and I don't know why, because I've still got full bars, so I have no clue. And so computer's been rebooted and I'm back at home, not like last week. So I'm not sure what's happening. So see, and Megan's actually on. Megan was actually on with us last week. And so see, Megan, not just you.
Yeah.
Okay. So my question was about strength and soul. So like so there's strength and soul that is part of your business name. So can you tell me a little bit about where does the name come from? Like how strength and soul? Sure.
Yeah, I'd love to. Yeah, choosing a name is a big deal. And so for my wife and I going into business together, and already like in less than 3 years, even just things have shifted, because we'd actually originally called our business Strength and Soul Wellness. And then last year or early this year, we dropped the wellness and rebranded because it wasn't really fitting in the same way. But ultimately, Christy's the strength and I'm the soul, because she really comes from a background of health and fitness. And so she really embodies that, I guess, in the more traditional, like the physical strength, the strength of the physical body. And everything that I do is very intuitive and, like I already said, spiritual. And so I'm the soul. And so together, we are strength and soul.
That is so cool. And that is something that I already knew, but I really wanted everyone else to know, because I just think that is so exciting. And so just because it's just a unique way of being able to do this, right? So I just want to acknowledge that Danielle has hopped on and that Diane has hopped on. Hi, guys. And so, or hi, ladies, I guess. And so, so tell me a little bit. So one of the things, so the topic is about awakening the feminine archetypes. So tell me a little bit about how did you get involved with the archetypes?
Sure. I guess, like a lot of things, I didn't realize what I was getting into until I was already really into it. Back when, as a teenager, I had an incredible thirst for knowledge and was reading a lot of really, spiritual and progressive books. And one of the books that really changed my life around the time, actually a couple, but was Joseph Campbell's The Power of Myth. And so when I read The Power of Myth, it was like that whole world opened up for me, in that I understood that was where my passion lay, in understanding how all of the world's religions are essentially a combination of mythologies. And and groups of people then, essentially decide to agree that they believe in this certain set of myths. But and stories, they tell stories, and that sets like values for whole cultures, right? And so when I really was looking at all the world's religions, and if anyone has also done that kind of looking around, you see that there's so many similarities. And the farther back you go, you're like, wait, that story sounds really similar to this other story. And then you start to realize that as as humans have been around and tried to explain and understand the human existence, we've always used story, and that we just maybe change the names of the characters or the details of the location, but there we are. And so in that exploration of myth, of course, I was introduced to many different representations of the divine feminine, of goddesses. And so I felt right at home. I wasn't raised, I wasn't raised by Catholic parents. I often jokingly say my mom was a recovering Catholic. And so I didn't have to undo that kind of, really male-centered dogma, except for what I'd already really absorbed from society, right? So once I got introduced to goddesses, and I really started surrounding myself with imagery, and I'm really tuning myself to moon cycles and the seasonal cycles, I just found myself, I was already immersed in that. And then it would have been years later before I probably even understood or really heard. Sometimes we hear things, but they go over our head. We're not ready to understand them. They don't land. Before I really understood what an archetype was as a living expression of a certain set of motives and or really like behaviors. And so for me, what I love about working with archetypes is that it goes so much deeper than like a personality test, like a personality quiz, because with each archetype you have different goddesses, and so you have that comes with it attached a rich and ancient mythology and all the stories that comes with it. So that's where that's why I'm so excited about this kind of work, is goes so deep.
So can you tell, just in case somebody is new to archetypes, can you explain a little bit about what are archetypes?
Yeah. So, and like I just briefly said, like an archetype is a living expression of a set of behaviors or motivations. So the one that I often give as an example, because it's so easily recognized, is the mother archetype. And so if we think about the mother archetype, because if we're not mothers ourselves, we all have a mother. We understand that as a type, right? Yeah. And when you get down to the essence of what it means to be a mother, or that mother archetype, you can strip away the details of like personal identity, of geographic location, and even like a period of time. That the essence of the mother archetype is the same whether you are living in like prehistory times, or you are like Upper East Side Manhattan mom. Like at the essence, it's the same.
Nice. So how do you actually incorporate that in your business? So like, as you said that that's how you actually embody your you embody the archetypes into your business. So how do you do that?
Well, this is it's something that as soon as I started sharing about this work, women, lots of women really gravitate to it. And I think it's because as women, we can really we feel it. And we don't need to understand it at first with our mind, because we're just feeling it. And so with my program, where I do deep dive with this work, it's called Livestream School, and you are an alumni, Rollie, give you a shout out there. That there's 7 archetypes that we can go through, and they all have different gifts or strengths. And they have different, pitfalls or shadows. So I call them strengths or shadows. And they really define for each of us what our leadership style is. And this, this doesn't just mean for business, but of course, if anyone is an entrepreneur, they, we are more tuned into, issues of leadership than people that aren't running their own business. But we all will have unique strengths and shadows to be aware of for our leadership, and it can influence what kind of marketing is going to be the most effective for us. It's going to influence like what kind of offer or program we create is going to be beneficial. And so it's a process of the different tools that I like to use are guided visualizations, journaling prompts, like writing in your journals, and then definitely sister circles, where we can really open up with one another and be in that sister space, so that we start to, it's really about more like remembering and opening ourselves up as a channel, so that we can start to really feel what's coming through us. It really isn't something that comes from the mind.
Well, and that kind of fits with us being feminine, right? So like us being able to connect to our sacral allows us to be able to have that feel, whereas, and not to say that men don't have that feel, because men have sacral energy as well, but women tend to be that more nurturing and more connected to that part of things. So hi, Tracy, and hi, Mimi. Both of the two of them are on, and Tracy's saying hello. So Tracy Lee. And so, so one of the things that that you were going to talk on is about being able to awaken that feminine archetype. So tell me more.
Sure. Yeah. So I guess I like that verb, awakening. I use it often, because I do feel like that's it describes that feeling of like we're or remembering, like it's like we're remembering something that we used to know, either from when we're younger, or even previous lifetime, if you believe in that. Or it's like awakening to who we already are. And I think everyone can relate. We grow up, and we move out on our own, and we become adults, and we feel like we're becoming who we're maybe like supposed to be, or who we are. But like life will often really take us on these other paths. And so not that this happens to everyone, but I really feel that, like, for me, as I was, even as someone who was very much on a spiritual path, even for someone who was doing moon rituals and going to moon circles and feeling connected, I was also still caught up on, like, who am I supposed to be, and what is like being successful supposed to look like, and so this awakening, that I've experienced, it was like, who am I really? What is the essence of Flora, and where am I not in alignment with who I am? Where are my values not actually being expressed in my work or in my relationships? And so this kind of awakening, as women with feminine archetypes, and of course, yes, there's many wonderful divine masculine archetypes for anyone that identifies as masculine. That awakening with the feminine archetypes for me allowed me to, like, cut through the BS, right? Cut through any falseness that I had in my life, and really get very clear on what I wanted out of life, and who I am, and what my gifts are, and to stop trying to do things that really were not in my zone of genius. How's that for an idea? Just concentrating on things that bring me joy and that I'm naturally really good at, and that people love that from me. How's that for an idea?
That was wonderful for me. So one of the things that Flora has shared is that I am an alumni of the Goddess Dream School. And so you've run that program 3 times or 4 times now, I can't remember.
Yeah, 4.
And so, like, this is an amazing program. So so I'm going to put that shout out, and I know that that's not what Flora is actually talking about, but I really do want to put that out there for anybody who is an entrepreneur and is trying to figure out, how do I fit, where does things go? And so I've been very open in terms of like my own who it is that I am and what it is that I need to be doing and why it is that I need to be doing what it is that I'm doing. And Goddess Dream School really did help open things up. And one of the reasons for that is because of the archetypes, right? So I'm familiar with the archetypes. There were some that I was familiar with, and the archetypes I was familiar with, but the goddesses that are attached to the specific, because Flora ties the two of them together, the archetypes with specific goddesses, and shows you how to be able to tap into that that moon, or that the shadow, like your strength and your shadow side, right? So it was really, really helpful to be able to know. So very much a mother archetype, that was one of the things that I already knew about me. But then when we kind of tapped into things a little bit more, then it really helped me figure out where are some of the other archetypes, where do they fit in? And very interestingly is that we are part of all seven, right? So all seven archetypes, we are part of all of them. Some of them we identify with, some of them we don't, some of them we're a little fearful of, some of them we're like, oh my God, Flora, really? You're gonna make me go there? Right? So, but like really, really important for us to be able to identify that. So can you tell me a little bit more about how can you awaken them? So if this is something that's new to people, then, and Tracy is saying, actually, I'm just going to take a couple comments first. So Joanne says, great idea. So she loved your idea. And Tracy says, also an alumni, and I would definitely recommend Goddess Dream School. It allowed me to fine tune my feminine. So another shout out to Goddess Dream School, even though that's not what it is that you're talking about. But
yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah. So I'll just give a quick rundown because, and I should say, this is my system that I have developed, and I call it the 777 activation. And because we're combining the archetypes, the chakras, and those 7 goddess gifts of leadership. So it's the 777. And because if you look at other systems of archetypes, like the classic Jungian system, Carl Jung was the psychiatrist that really initially put forward even that term. And in modern day, this awareness of the archetype, his system is 12. He has 12 archetypes in his system, and I know of at least 2 other archetype systems. One's 8 and one's 13. So we all seem to be either we're like 7 or 8 or 12 and 13. At least of the ones that I'm familiar with. But for me, and you mentioned chakra dance at the beginning of this, I've been working with the chakra system for a very long time as well, and having that in awareness. So when that came into place for me, it just really made sense. It really made sense in my body. It made sense to me. So you have the maiden archetype in your root chakra. And the maiden's gift is vulnerability. And not everyone thinks of vulnerability as a strength or a gift, but it truly is. And the mother archetype is in, of course, our sacral. In our womb center as women. That's where our creative centers, where we birth new life. Her gift is not just in the birth, but it's in the nurturance. It's in, because if the mother's job was done after birth, well, yeah, that would almost be too easy. No, it's in nurturing the new life, right? So the mother archetype gift is in nurturance. Then in our solar plexus chakra, we have the wild woman. Now, she's the one that is often the most scary archetype for many women, but the wild woman is in our solar plexus, and her goddess gift is courage and being bold. So that's a fun one for me. I in fact love the wild woman. If Tracy, if you're still on here, Tracy's a strong wild woman.
And that was in our heart.
Right, yeah.
So it's like that was one of those, seriously, Flora, you want me to go there? And that was definitely with the wild woman. It's like, you want me to experience what this week?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because she's really bold. She's she's a bit untamed, right? And then in the heart, we have the healer. And so the healer archetype is in that heart center, and the gift there is compassion and unconditional love. And I know that's a comfortable one for you. And then throat chakra, we have the creatrix archetype. The creatrix is obviously a very creative type as well. And her gift is of manifestation, taking an idea, an inspiration, and making something of it, right? That's the creatrix energy. Then in our third eye, we have the crone, or the wise woman. And the gift there with her is vision or intuition. I like both of those, vision or intuition. That's the gift of the crone. And then in our crown, we have the priestess archetype, our connection between our human experience and the divine. And her gift is transformation. So when we are reaching for that, that she's like our highest potential, and that's when we can really transform everything. We can transform things, our health, our relationships, our work, our business. There's a real transformation there with that energy. So that's a quick rundown of the 777, the system that I work with, and there's like I said, I can say words and we can do exercises and there's all kinds of practices, but a lot of this is what do you feel? What do you feel when you place your hands on your heart? What do you feel when you place your hands on your solar plexus? What do you feel like when you're, doing a certain, a certain mudra or a certain movement, or you're dancing with wild abandon? How do these different energies get expressed through you? And that's the basis of the work.
That's really cool. So, and like I said, I've experienced it through the Goddess Dream School, but you use it in a lot of different ways as well, right? So like, it's not just Goddess Dream School, which is why I said, I know that the focus isn't Goddess Dream School, but that's kind of where we went to, because of the connection. So how do you do this on a regular basis? Like, so where does this kind of fit in your everyday stuff?
Okay, great question. For me, I think where I'm at now is like I'm in a flow most of the time between all of them. I studied with I studied with Dr. Jean Shinoda Bolin a few years ago. And actually, I'm glad this came up because I do recommend her book, Goddesses in Every Woman. If anyone's watching and wanting to look at, to read more, she's a psychiatrist, but that when I took her program to really deepen into this, she said, think of it as if you're chairing a committee. So you're at a boardroom table, you have the 7 goddesses, the archetypes around you, your witness self, your, I is chairing the committee. So when you're in any kind of situation, or you're in a certain relationship dynamic, or you're at the beginning of starting a project, you can maybe decide, who do I need to call upon here? In this situation, do I need the courage and the boldness of the wild woman in this moment? Maybe I need to bring her out, or maybe what I really need is the wisdom and the maturity of the crone. Maybe I need to be playful and innocent and let myself get vulnerable. Maybe I need to like the maiden, maybe that's what the situation needs because I can't quite see my way out of it. Maybe I'm being, I'm too narrow focused. So you can kind of have fun with it. And so nowadays it's like, okay, what do I need today? What kind of energy do I need to bring in any certain moment? And it feels quite natural. I mean, to be fair, of course, we all have our strongest. We all have 2 usually that are our dominant ones. And so those are just naturally going to be the most expressed. But the real information also comes from our shadow archetype, like you also mentioned, because when we understand where we're not letting ourselves express, then where are we holding ourselves back? What are we not allowing ourselves to experience? What are we saying no to, maybe out of a fear, self-doubt. So that information is even more important, I think, because that's where we can realize, okay, that's my blind spot. That's my shadow. Okay, well, I'm going to shine that light of awareness into that dark corner and bring things more into balance there. So I hope I answered your question. It's not like I wake up every day and like, what archetype do I want to be today? It's just more in certain moments I might ask myself, like, what do I think is required in this moment or in this situation, or to get this project started, or to see this project through to completion, right, wherever it may be, and to allow myself to shapeshift.
Well, and I don't think that, and you definitely did answer my question, and I don't think that any one of us are like stuck in one particular archetype, whether we're aware of them or not, right? So it's just being able to create that awareness and being able to bring that forward. And that's one of the things that was really helpful, is that because I always thought that I only did these things, right? That I was only these archetypes. And then as we were going through and working through the seven archetypes, that was one of the things that it was like, oh, I do use that archetype and I do use that archetype. And so then being able to call those in, like you said, is like really helpful, right? So being able to create that awareness and being able to shine that awareness, because I always thought that when you figured out what your archetype was, then that's the archetype that you remain. And then there's also the archetypes that where we start off, right? So like my archetypes from when I was 20 are much different than they are now that I'm 48, right?
Yes.
So things have actually shifted. So the ones where I actually pull in and use on a regular basis are not the same ones that I used when I was 20. And so, and we shift, right? So we shift, but we also draw on them on a regular basis without being aware that we're drawing on them, right?
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. I'm so glad you brought that up, because it is true. Life changes us, if we allow it. What's this saying? Change is inevitable. Growth is optional. So, so hopefully we grow as we change. And that's a really good point, that we still have with us, everything will have aspects of all of us. And yet, just most of us don't have the awareness. They don't see life on that archetypal level, that mythic level that you and I perhaps do, and so it really opens up people's perceptions, which I love to do.
So now we talked a lot about Goddess Dream School, but what else do you do?
What else do I do? Well, what is business coaching, really, spiritual business coaching, primarily as it turns out, for other online entrepreneurs. I have worked with some people who have had at least partially in-person businesses, but definitely seems to be a lot of women are going the direction of wanting the freedom that having an online business does. So that is again another organic evolution of me having a background in marketing and communications, and also like community development through my past career in arts administration, and being able to marry that with my passion for women's empowerment and spirituality. So business coaching, I lead moon circles just like you do. And online programs. So I'm now completely based online, which is amazing.
That is really amazing. So now, especially as you evolve, right? And that's one of the things that that I've met other entrepreneurs that are kind of like, okay, well, I went into business and this was my plan, and 3 years later or 5 years later, this is where I am. And so it's people like you that help us be able to find ways of being able to change and to shift and to find those find that evolution as to how we're going to. So and Tracy just popped up, and Joanne actually said wow, so I'm not sure at what point that she said wow. So something was a wow. So and Tracy says Flora is also my business coach And if you really want movement through the steps of building your own online, just do it. So connect. So you might cheerleading.
Yay. Yeah, it's yeah, I mean, I feel so blessed. And I write in my gratitude journal pretty often. I'm not a daily gratitude journaler, at least currently, but I just feel very grateful for the work and the work that I do. And like I said, I mean, I used to think that work kind of had to be a bit unpleasant. It was almost like you go to work, it's going to be, it's like going to work. I had been indoctrinated with that. And my real passion was always like the side thing that I did. Like what I really love to do, I couldn't make a living at it. I mean, and I come from a performing arts background. And so for over a decade, I really did try to make a living at music, and it definitely was a struggle. And so now that I really am making a living doing what I love, it's such a blessing. And it's possible for everyone. And also not everyone needs to make a living from their passion. That's cool too. It can be, one of many things that we do. Like the world is so different nowadays, right? Almost no one has that job that they start in their 20s and they work until they retire and they get the gold watch. Like that's just no.
That would be my husband. That was one of the things that he was in the same job, didn't change for like 25 years. And so like, I think he was actually 27 before he actually started off on his own, taking over my dad's business. And so like, that was a huge shift because he was that type of person that I just want to stick with the same plan and I don't want to shift. Whereas I'm all over the place. So I'm like, and I worked for different agencies, and that was one of the things that's how I built my career, was working for different agencies and having different experiences, which then brings me to where it is that I am now. And so, and even when I first started 3 years ago, things have shifted. And so like a little bit more focused and streamlined, thanks to Flora. And but that's something that's like really important, is that things, and we shift, right? So we shift and we change and we evolve, and we do that through being able to create more awareness. And that's something that you've brought up several times, is being able to create that awareness. If it's not in your awareness, you can't make changes. And that's one of the things that, even from a mental health background, that's one of the things, is that unless you create that awareness, you're not going to be able to make the changes as to why these things are actually happening in your life. And so, so same holds true with your business, right? So like, if you don't create the awareness and know where you need to grow, your business can't grow, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why entrepreneurship is such a personal development journey as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, is there anything else that you want to be able to share with the audience before we move on?
Well, yeah, I didn't really have any final words prepared or anything, but just that, if you are, if you identify as feminine, then I believe that it's more likely that you will also relate to the divine in a feminine energy. Not always, and that's certainly not how everyone is raised, if they're raised in a religion. But I think that's been probably just the most damaging piece with a lot of masculine dominated religions. It hasn't allowed women and people that identify as feminine to connect with the divine in a sense of similarity. And so open yourself up to that. And of course, ultimately, divine source energy is beyond gender. And that's right. That's what I believe. Like, life force just is. But as women, I see it over and over again, this homecoming, when they can connect with the feminine faces of God, the divine feminine. And so that's what what brings me joy, to see other women that, and so, you know, whatever that means, surround yourself with some images of beautiful goddesses that you're attracted to, these images, and what does that mean? And then maybe you can do a little research. Well, who is this goddess? Maybe what does that mean to me? What message does she have for me at this time? There's so much to explore there.
There is. And it's ongoing, right? And like you said, if you actually, depending on what direction that you go in, right? So you've got the 777, whereas you have the one that you said had 12 and 13 and 7 and 8, right? So like there's a whole lot of different ways that you can actually explore this. So there's not just one way of being able to do it, is being able to like doing what feels right for you, right? So where is it in alignment with where you're at right now? And so, and maybe where you're at right now is here, and you may end up with 13 archetypes at some point, that's where things are at, but it kind of depends on where you're at. Where are you at? What is in alignment with you? So yeah. So thank you so much, Flora, for being able to do this. This is amazing. And I really appreciate being able to come on.
Thanks for having me.
Even with our glitches, eventually I will be able to do this quite smoothly without any, but anybody who's doing tech knows and understands that just happens. We just kind of go with it and figure it out as we go along, because the tech just does its own thing. And so one of the things that I've noticed a lot more is that when you're actually working with doing anything where we're bringing forward energy, is that technology just really acts up even more. So at least that's my experience.
Yeah.
So
it's true. It's true. Yeah.
So yes, so I'm thankful to all of you who have joined us, and feel free to share this if you've enjoyed this this broadcast today, and thanks so much.